All right, so this is close enough to 70 inches that I'm going to end it here. Now, what I'm thinking is because this is so thick on here, because the bar of wood I used is so big, I have to get another metal rod for the front, but that's in the future. Anyways, because this is so thick, I think I might rewarp. So hem stitch this, pull it forward, then cut it off, then tie these on to the bar again and start fresh for the second half. As you can tell, I'm still debating a bit, but I think that's what I'm going to do. Now I have to remember how to hem stitch. All right, since I'm not using my actual warp to do the hem stitch, I've just knotted it around the first 4. So that will be down and bring it back up. No, I'm not catching it to knot it. Anyway, so it's knotted. Okay, so I'm going to go behind the warp ends. Hold on, I need to get my instructions out. Go behind the warp ends, wrapping it around the top to the back. Alright, so we go behind the warp ends, around the top, and then down. So behind, without knotting it. Behind, down, through. Ooh, that makes such a nice edge. Oh, okay. I'm going to finish doing this and then we'll look at cutting off. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I just can't imagine doubling this. We're going to be like to the center of our space down here. See how far that sticks out? It's not leaving us a lot of room in here. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, I'll be back for the cut. Okay, here we go. Now, first of all, you can see that Bobo stole my chair. It's a good thing I'm doing this part standing. All right. First thing we're going to do is loosen our warp. And we're going to pull that off the front. To about there. And lock that there. All right. So, okay, there's no going back now. And we're going to tie these so they don't fall back through. Last one. There we go. And it's done. All right. Now we'll take the fabric off. Move your butt. Thank you. Okay. I did not do a hem stitch at the beginning, so I think I should probably pull this to give myself a little space. And then I'm going to hem stitch this end. All right. We have a hem stitch. So we'll continue to pull out this. This is why we did all the yarn from one side when we did our spacers. So we can just pull them all out because they're not woven in, they're just slipped between the threads. There we go. There we go. Okay, so it's liberated. Oh, Bobo, you're so cute. So now we just need to retension our loom, space our warps, and get ready to go again. Do you want a close up of what we got so far? Let me show you. There we go. Good morning, besties. All right, so we have successfully cut off our first run of fabric, and we are currently working on, this thing. Let me grab some coffee. Oh, it's good. Okay, so we are harnessing our loom here. That's good coffee. So I am doing very small little bundles. I'm just doing 8 strands. And then we're going to tension warp and make sure it's fairly even all the way across. Okay, now we're going to go back to this side. Now I have kept my heddles in upper positions so that it makes it easier to separate my warp strands. Before I tension it, I will release all the heddles so that everything's lying even. But for the moment, it is helping me to see my warp strands evenly and get them tied on. So I'm not really worried about keeping an even tension right now. I'm just worried about getting them tied on. There. So they're all tied on. So now we're going to release all of our petals so everything's lying flat. And then I want to draw it back to get this closer to here. Uh-oh. What happened there? Oh, my rear brake jumped off. It's no big deal. It's okay. Everything's okay. I forgot I didn't have it on a full brake. I just had it on the temporary brake. Oops, scared the crap out of myself. Thought I busted my loom. Okay, we're all right. It's all good. It's all good, man. All right. And we're going to release one more. There. That's about perfect. Tighten that up. Now let's check and see. All right, so definitely this one needs to be tightened. Unknot that. Pull it tighter. And then re-knot. Better. Oof, that one's very soft. So let's get that one snug down. That's better. And this one needs to be snug down. Okay. This is literally done by feel. Just work your way across the warps and feel for any soft ones. There. Better. Okay, so now I'm just gonna tie those double knots so they don't slide now that I've got them all torqued up. So I'm thinking we might work on improving our weaving for a while, because I always seem to do a project and I learn a bunch and then I don't touch it again for another year. And it's hard to improve when you're not doing something on the rags. So what I'm thinking is when we finish this project, we're just gonna warp for the next one. But I was thinking the next one might be fun to do a warp facing project. So in other words, we use our fancy yarns as the warp, and then the weft becomes just sort of dressing up that warp. Now it could be tricky because it has the texel heddles on this. I'm not sure how some of my fancier yarns would fit through the eyes of those. So that could be a challenge for the next weave. And it might be a fun little learning thing. Because so far everything I've done has been weft facing. And I think it's time to try warp facing, just for fun. Now, because of the texel heddles, I may end up doing it on my rigid heddle loom and see how it goes on there. Because there's so much tension and abrasion that happens on the warp, it can be hard to use your fancy yarns to do that. To move this one over a little bit and tighten it up a little bit. There we go. So I'm thinking we use the rigid heddle loom to do a warp facing project so that we can continue to improve with our weaving, because I am not improving, I am just staying the same, just because I'm not doing enough of it. So I'm thinking that's going to be our next goal. And yes, I know I have this fancy table loom and I should be using this more, but again, I'm worried about those warp yarns. If I'm using fancy ones, will they go through those eyes on the texel, whatever they're called, heddles. Okay, there we go. We're all tied on. Look at that. And that's pretty even all the way across. I'm impressed with myself. All right, well, the next step is going to be getting that spacer yarn in, but I think we want to bring this over the beam before we start spacing our warp. Bobo, quit pushing the camera around, little bugger. He just loves the tripod. He loves nuzzling it and shoving it across the room. So this probably comes as a surprise to no one, but my math was horrible. Because you know me, math is not my thing. So here is our second piece off of our loom. I still love it. The fabric is amazing. But here's our first piece. And as you can see, this is substantially shorter. So my idea of doing a ruana has now changed. So you can see this is like half the length of the other one. So here's what I was looking at it and thinking over and over and over. What can I do with this? So what I want to do is make like a pair of sleeves and then have this as the center panel that can be detachable in the front. So you can either wear it as like a shrug or like a full sweater. That's a possibility. Or I make a pair of sleeves and then drape this down the back to give like this cape-like look. Or I make a pair of sleeves. You seeing a pattern here? Always make a pair of sleeves. And then turn this into an attached hood. I haven't decided yet which way I'm going to go. But for now, I need to trim my ends, wash my fabric, get it all gussied up, and get it ready for stitching into whatever I decide to stitch it into. So for now, I'm going to set you up so I can do a slow troll through and you can see how all these yarns look woven up. Here we go. You can see the beehives and the feathers here. That's the feather sticking out. And then you can see how the beehives work into the fabric and give you those little nubs of texture. So here is our, what do we call that? I don't even remember, but you can see how the texture comes to the surface, and it's so cool. It feels amazing. Then I have it separated by just a straight spin. Then there's the black and green. Now, I didn't do my most consistent weaving on here because, you know, I'm me and I'm far from perfect, but this is what I wanted, was just a general textured fabric. So here again, we have some more beehives. I love how they look in a weave. They're so lovely. And then there's another set. Then we have some more regular spun. You can see how the colors play. And then I think this one was a thick and thin, but you can see how it's very textured. It's gorgeous. There's some more spiral plies in the thick and thin. This looks so cool on camera. All right, then we get to our boucle and our spiral. Actually, that's a coil spun, but you can see how that looks. Isn't that cool? Now, as I set the fabric, where these warps show should settle in more, so they're not as noticeable. And the boucle just completely hides the warps. It's awesome. All right, here's some more beehives. I love the texture they make in a weave. It's simply amazing. And then we go back to, this one's a sparkly yarn. And the way the colors just dance around each other, I think is so amazing. And then we finish with a nice plump thick and thin. So that's our long one. And here is our shorter piece. So that one was the one we spun a chunk of the pink, a chunk of the blue, as opposed to blending them together. There's one of our dyed yarns. It's so pretty. And then we get back into our boucles and beehives and texture and coil spun and just all the fun chaos. It's just so nice. And these were just literally chunks of the skein. Now there was our final day of spinning where I just put in everything. So here's how it looks in the weave. That's a little lock sticking out there. You can see the feathers here. All the different colors and textures and just insanity. I love it. It feeds my chaos goblin. All right, and there's another thick and thin. Fun. Then we go back into some more of the more normal yarns. Normal. And there's some more of that Fully Chaotic yarn. Those are little locks sticking out. But they're very solid and part of the fabric. They're not going anywhere. The boucle. The blue. And then we finish off with some nice bright orange. Well, that's the weaving, guys. All done. And I definitely want to do sleeves with this because I think it's going to look epic. It's just a matter of making it fit. Of course, it's fresh off the loom, so it's still very stiff. But I'm thinking maybe a collar at the back into the sleeves. And then with this piece here, it would make like a sweater type thing, and I could have like a flap maybe. I don't know. But I do want to make this into sleeves. I think it'll be fun. But the first thing I got to do is wash it up. Set that fabric properly, clip off some ends. And then depending on what I end up doing with it is going to depend on whether I make this a fringe or if I stitch in all my ends. Because stitching in all the ends is going to take a while. But it could be worth it in the end. But for now, we made cloth out of all of our Advent yarns. So I hope you enjoyed the chaos of all of this. We'll be back to figure out what we're going to do with this. If you have any suggestions, drop them down below. I'm always open to suggestions. I'm going to get this washed up and hang it to dry. And I will consult the comments to see what suggestions you guys might have. And we shall make something out of our Advent weave fabric. Thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!